President Donald Trump addressed the nation from the Oval Office tonight, April 1st, announcing a comprehensive ceasefire agreement between Iran and coalition forces. The agreement, brokered after weeks of intense diplomatic efforts, aims to halt hostilities in the region effective immediately. This development follows months of escalating tensions and marks a significant shift in regional dynamics. The address, delivered at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, detailed the immediate cessation of all offensive military operations by both sides, effective at midnight UTC on April 2nd. President Trump emphasized the agreement's potential to prevent further loss of life and stabilize critical global energy routes, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, which accounts for approximately 20% of the world's daily petroleum consumption. The White House confirmed that the ceasefire was the result of sustained high-level negotiations conducted through multiple international channels, including direct engagement with Iranian officials, facilitated by third-party nations like Oman and Switzerland. This marks the first formal de-escalation agreement of its kind in the current period of heightened regional conflict, which has seen several near-miss confrontations, including the downing of a U.S. drone last June and retaliatory strikes. The announcement comes after a period characterized by increased military posturing, targeted strikes, and a series of economic sanctions that have severely impacted Iran's economy, reducing its oil exports by over 80% since 2018, according to the International Energy Agency. The president's speech highlighted the diplomatic breakthrough as a pathway to a more secure Middle East, underscoring the administration's commitment to regional stability and the protection of international shipping. The full details of the agreement are expected to be released by the State Department later tonight, providing clarity on the specific commitments made by each party regarding military activities and regional proxies. This address was highly anticipated, following days of speculation regarding a potential major foreign policy announcement, with global markets reacting positively to early reports of a potential breakthrough. The ceasefire terms, as outlined by President Trump, include a comprehensive cessation of all offensive military operations, a commitment to immediate de-escalation, and the establishment of humanitarian corridors in conflict-affected areas across the region. Both sides have agreed to a 72-hour period for forces to disengage and return to pre-conflict positions, starting at midnight UTC on April 2nd. This disengagement process will be overseen by a newly formed international monitoring body, provisionally named the Joint Ceasefire Verification Commission, composed of representatives from the United Nations, Oman, and Switzerland. United Nations observers are expected to deploy within 48 hours to key strategic locations, including border crossings and maritime choke points, to monitor compliance and report any violations directly to the Security Council. The agreement also stipulates a freeze on all new military deployments, a prohibition on the transfer of advanced weaponry to proxy groups in the region, and a commitment to refrain from cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure. Furthermore, a provision for the exchange of prisoners of war and detainees within the next 2 weeks has been included, aiming to build initial trust and facilitate further diplomatic engagement. This exchange will involve 15 identified individuals from each side, as confirmed by the International Committee of the Red Cross. The full text of the agreement, comprising 12 articles and 3 annexes detailing specific operational parameters and verification protocols, is expected to be released publicly by the United Nations tomorrow morning, providing granular detail on the commitments. Tensions between Iran and a U.S.-led coalition had intensified significantly following a series of maritime incidents in the Persian Gulf, including attacks on 6 oil tankers between May and September of last year, and drone strikes on critical oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia last September, which temporarily halved the kingdom's oil output. These events led to a substantial increase in military presence in the region, with the Pentagon deploying an additional 14,000 troops and several Patriot missile batteries, and heightened fears of a broader conflict. Previous attempts at de-escalation through back-channel communications and European diplomatic initiatives, such as France's efforts to mediate a credit line for Iran, had yielded limited progress, often collapsing over disagreements on sanctions relief and regional influence. The current agreement was reportedly facilitated by intermediaries from Oman and Switzerland, with direct, high-level negotiations occurring over the past week in a neutral European capital confirmed to be Geneva. This diplomatic breakthrough follows months of economic pressure exerted through sanctions, which the Trump administration had maintained were crucial for bringing Iran to the negotiating table, citing a 25% contraction in Iran's GDP in 2019. The last major de-escalation effort, involving a proposed summit between President Trump and Iranian President Rouhani, failed in late 2019 due to preconditions from both sides. The current agreement represents a departure from previous stalemates, indicating a potential shift in diplomatic strategies. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo stated the agreement represents a crucial first step towards lasting stability and a testament to persistent diplomacy and pressure. During a press briefing earlier today at the State Department, he emphasized that the United States remains vigilant regarding compliance and that sanctions relief would only be considered upon verifiable adherence to all terms. Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif, in a statement released via state media, confirmed Iran's commitment to the ceasefire, emphasizing the need for mutual respect, non-interference in internal affairs, and the lifting of unjust sanctions that have crippled our economy. International reactions have been cautiously optimistic. The European Union High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Josep Borrell, called it a welcome development that offers a window of opportunity for broader regional dialogue and a return to multilateral engagement. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres issued a statement urging all parties to uphold their commitments, facilitate humanitarian access, and engage constructively in subsequent peace talks. Analysts from the International Crisis Group noted that while significant, the agreement's long-term success hinges on sustained political will from all signatories and addressing core grievances, particularly Iran's regional missile program and its support for various non-state actors. Dr. Sarah Khan, a Middle East policy expert at the Carnegie Endowment, commented that this ceasefire buys time, but the underlying geopolitical fault lines remain deep. The immediate focus shifts to the implementation phase, with a joint committee comprising representatives from Iran, the United States, and the United Nations expected to convene in Geneva next week, specifically on April 8, to discuss long-term peace frameworks and verification mechanisms. This committee will be tasked with establishing a permanent monitoring presence and addressing any reported violations, with a mandate to report directly to the UN Security Council. Challenges remain, including verifying troop withdrawals from specific conflict zones, ensuring the cessation of proxy activities by all parties, and addressing the underlying causes of regional instability, such as the future of Iran's nuclear program and the status of existing economic sanctions. The United Nations Security Council is scheduled to hold an emergency session tomorrow, April 2, at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, to formally endorse the ceasefire and discuss potential peacekeeping mandates and resolutions for international support, including financial aid for reconstruction efforts in war-torn areas. The agreement does not immediately address the status of existing economic sanctions, which will be a key point of discussion in subsequent negotiations, with Iran demanding their full removal as a condition for further engagement. A follow-up summit involving regional powers, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE, is tentatively scheduled for late April in Vienna, aiming to broaden the scope of the peace process to include broader security arrangements. The initial 72-hour disengagement period, commencing at midnight UTC, will be a critical test of the agreement's viability and the commitment of all signatories.